Cuando llego, justo escucho que estaban transmitiendo un partido y era que jugaba Boca con Estudiantes. Entonces le pregunto a un compañero, ¿y cómo va el partido? Y en ese momento me dice 1-0.
Al centro buscando a Krasnowski, pasó, entró Mario Bouza, le pegó.
Cuando termina de decirme esto, se escucha un gran sacudón seguido de una explosión.
The roar of the explosion abruptly broke the silence. A torpedo fired from the depths tore through the hull of the cruiser General Belgrano, practically splitting it in two. The brutal attack left hundreds of men in the middle of a deadly trap of steel, fire, and water. Fear became a cry shared by the entire Argentine crew, who were still struggling to understand what was happening when everything shook again. A second impact had hit the target.
La concusión, el incendio, la explosión en sí hizo que toda la gente que estaba en el compartimento fuera muerta.
The lives of hundreds were extinguished. Meanwhile, those who managed to reach the lifeboats clung desperately. Others preferred to jump into the icy water before being reached by the fire, although fate would be just as cruel to them. More than 300 sailors sank with the Argentine ship in one of the darkest days of the Falklands War. The violent offensive of May 2nd, 1982, was one of the most savage and controversial episodes of the conflict in the South Atlantic, and on this occasion we invite you to learn about it in detail. Discover the minute-by-minute of the deadly day thanks to the testimony of its own protagonists in this new installment of military history.
El buque no tenía salvación por la forma de cómo se había metido en el agua, cómo estaba inclinado. Evidentemente, no podía demorar más la orden de abandono. Es ahí, le transmito a mi segundo comandante, que estaba más abajo, abandonar el buque. Es la orden más trágica, más tremenda que un comandante puede dar.
The sinking of the ARA General Belgrano was one of the hardest blows suffered by the Argentine forces during the Malvinas War. In this single episode, almost half of the country's total casualties in the entire conflict occurred. The last page of its history in the Navy began to be written on April 16, 1982 at 11:50, when the ship with its 1,093 crew members set sail from the dock of the Puerto Belgrano Naval Base in Buenos Aires, heading for Tierra del Fuego. 2 weeks had already passed since the beginning of the conflict, and in that time, the United Kingdom had drawn up a maritime exclusion zone of 200 nautical miles around the islands. Likewise, it soon warned that it would open fire not only on any ship, but also on any hostile aircraft that dared to cross that limit. The British were increasingly following Argentine movements, and this became evident when the nuclear submarine HMS Conqueror began to pursue the Belgrano.
En la noche entonces del 30 de abril, el submarino Conqueror detecta al crucero General Belgrano a 80 kilómetros de distancia. Él me escuchó la noche anterior a 80 kilómetros. Yo estoy hablando ahora de 1.600 yardas. Bueno, prácticamente te puedo decir que no contábamos con defensa antisubmarina.
The Argentine cruiser was on the Isla de los Estados, part of the Tierra del Fuego archipelago, several kilometers outside the exclusion line marked by the British. For this reason, it never imagined that the enemy was stalking it. On the other hand, the Belgrano was a heavily armed warship, but without the necessary equipment to detect a submarine. It had been built by the United States in 1938 and was even moored in Pearl Harbor during the Japanese attack in World War II. It had more than 20 powerful cannons and anti-aircraft artillery, but it lacked sonar. Because of this, it was accompanied by 2 destroyers with that technology, the ARA Piedra Buena and the ARA Bouchard. However, when they left for a dangerous mission on Saturday, May 1st, 1982, none of the 3 ships was aware of the Conqueror's presence.
El día sábado, a partir de mediodía, debía incursionar hacia el este. Hacia el este estaban los buques ingleses. De manera que entrábamos en un área peligrosa donde el crucero iba a ser vulnerable con determinados ataques.
The Argentine forces' plan was to launch an attack on the English fleet with a pincer movement. From the north, the offensive would be led by aircraft from the aircraft carrier ARA 25 de Mayo, and from the south, by the Belgrano and its destroyers. The wind did not favor the takeoff of the planes, therefore they retreated, and we were also given the order to retreat, recalled the crew of the cruiser who, without knowing it, had been watched throughout the journey by the enemy submarine. Already on the morning of Sunday, May 2nd, the Belgrano was moving away from the British exclusion zone, but the rival high command considered it a latent threat and gave the order to destroy it. From London, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and the War Committee authorized the attack, and the HMS Conqueror began the maneuvers for the offensive. In the deepest silence, it adjusted speed and positioned itself at the best angle to become lethal. Terror was about to be unleashed. At 15 hours, 56 minutes, and 45 seconds, the English submarine fired its first torpedo against the Belgrano. Immediately, 2 other projectiles were launched at 3-second intervals, loaded with death and despair.
Los torpedos tardan menos de un minuto en alcanzar su objetivo.
La temida espera. Por favor, estalla. ¿Lo hemos hecho todo bien? ¿Ha funcionado?
Eran las 4 en punto de la tarde. En el Belgrano, los marineros estaban en el proceso de cambiar de turno.
The South Atlantic was calm, and although the crew aboard the ARA General Belgrano knew that the latent tension of war surrounded them like a dark and unpredictable ocean, no one could foresee what was to come. The first torpedo hit the cruiser in the rear, generating a fierce explosion that caused serious structural damage and cut off the ship's power.
Cuando golpea el torpedo en el casco, lo hace en la mitad del buque, el primer torpedo, que es la sala de máquinas de popa. Quiero expresarle que es la sala más grande que tiene el buque. De manera que ahí había mucha gente cubriendo guardia.
As explained by the commander of the Belgrano, Hector Bonzo, the first shot fired by the British could not have found a better target for its purpose. The brutal explosion took hundreds of sailors by surprise, who never imagined that their lives would end at that moment. In just seconds, 274 crew members had died as a result of a cruel offensive. The sailors who had managed to survive could not escape the panic that invaded them as they tried to understand what was happening. They all struggled to reach the upper decks in the midst of the chaos. They saw many of their companions lying on the ground and understood the lethality of the attack. As they passed, they also tried to help the wounded. But before an orderly evacuation could be organized, the cruiser trembled fiercely again. The second torpedo had just hit the front. The explosion was devastating and generated a rapid flooding in the nearby compartments. The communication systems were not working, and the chances of survival were now minimal due to the magnitude of the damage.
Esa explosión segunda es como que el buque paró y entró a hacer unos ruidos tremendos que era como que se partía, crujía. Eso es muy simple entender por qué hacía eso. El buque tenía unas bisagras, como el buque era tan largo, entonces esas bisagras era como que hacía ruido y como de dolor. Uno se imagina que el buque sentía dolor, ¿no?
The scene became a horror movie. Without power due to the damage, the cruise ship ended up stopped and without lights. In the darkness, only screams of pain and despair could be heard. Everyone ran, knowing that at any moment a new explosion could happen. The tragic end was lurking.
Quedó oscuro el buque y unas luces muy tenues pasaban a través de las escalas. Entonces la imagen era como si fuera una catedral gótica. Entre los humos que subían vapores y un olor muy penetrante.
Mientras la mayor parte de la tripulación corría hacia arriba, unos cuantos trataron de bajar y no sobrevivieron.
The third torpedo launched by HMS Conqueror missed. However, the first two shells had already dealt a fatal blow. The destructive power of the British weapon continued to wreak havoc on the Argentine ship with every second.
En su pasaje hacia arriba, iba arrastrando máquinas y hombres. Iba rompiendo cubiertas, iba perforando todo lo que encontraba a su paso hasta llegar hasta la cubierta principal.
The brutal attack, which represented the greatest loss of life during the Falklands War, was also a traumatic experience for the survivors, who suffered every moment of chaos and uncertainty that trapped them in a floating trap.
En el comedor había gente que estaba tomando la merienda. Declaran, porque han sobrevivido muchos de ellos, que una bola de aire caliente, casi color rojo, comenzó a avanzar hacia ellos.
The desperation they felt in those seconds is indescribable, but some of the shocking consequences of that moment give an idea of what the crew suffered.
Contaban con medias de nylon. Y el nylon se derritió. Y se derritió sobre la piel.
With severe burns and wounds all over their bodies, the Argentine sailors continued to fight for their lives. The general evacuation order was in effect throughout the ship, but the scenario for abandoning the cruise ship was not easy. After 20 minutes of the first impact, the General Belgrano began to tilt to port, making the mission of the men who sought to reach the upper deck more complex. And once there, the challenges did not end.
La banda de babor, que es la banda de la izquierda, había penetrado en el agua unos 8 metros, a tal punto que se podía pasar de la cubierta directamente a la balsa. No así la de estribor, que estaba totalmente levantada. Y por esa banda de estribor fue muy difícil el abandono.
Many of the crew, desperate to leave the ship, were forced to jump straight into the freezing sea when they failed to get into the emergency boats. They were now in the water facing high waves and sub-zero temperatures.
Entonces lo primero que tiramos es a volcarnos, a tirarnos al agua. Para que tengas una idea, caerse al agua es como si 1.000.000 de agujas se clavaran en el cuerpo en ese momento.
Me arrojo al agua, desde la proa. Ahora no lo haría. Digo sinceramente, porque el impacto con el agua fría es tan paralizante, es doloroso.
In freezing waters and strong winds, the survivors wait to be saved, many of them suffering from hypothermia and injuries caused by the explosions. The destroyers Piedrabuena and Bouchard, those sailing near the Belgrano, receive the distress signals and head to the scene. The first rescues soon begin, although the weather conditions and the distressing situation make the process slow and dangerous. Several hours pass before all the crew members adrift are brought to safety. The operations continue throughout the night, and the next day they conclude with a confirmed number of casualties. 323 Argentine sailors had died as a result of the most brutal attack of the war. For the ship's commander, it was not a surprise. He had experienced the ferocity of the British offensive up close, and he cannot erase from his mind the moment that foretold the tragic end for the General Belgrano.
El buque queda totalmente a oscuras, sin energía y con un silencio, yo diría, aterrador. Si el silencio a veces es una cosa muy buena, pues en un buque de guerra, el ruido de las máquinas andando es una bendición. El peligro es cuando siente el silencio. Porque el silencio es la muerte. Porque el silencio es la muerte.
The sinking of the ARA General Belgrano shook both Argentina and the United Kingdom. In the South American country, the attack outside the exclusion zone generated indignation and unity in support of the war. However, it also brought with it internal questions about the security and movements of its forces. On British soil, Thatcher's decision was defended by her government, but criticized by sectors that considered the offensive to be a controversial and brutal maneuver that violated the war treaties. Without a doubt, this was an incident that deeply marked all those involved in the conflict, but mainly the survivors, such as Jorge Navarro, one of those in charge of communications, who still remembers how small details prevented him from facing a very different end when the torpedoes arrived.
El primero fue en el sector de popa, justamente en el lugar donde yo estaba o debía estar de guardia, donde lamentablemente quedó y pereció allí Juan Carlos Bollo, que estaba descansando al lado de la radio, y en Radio 2, Jorge Chacante. Si no hubiera sido porque él me pedía cambiar la guardia, el destino hubiera sido otro.
After being saved from the most lethal explosion of the attack, Navarro managed to reach the emergency boats and was one of those responsible for sending distress messages to the Argentine forces.
Hicimos llamadas de emergencia, Mayday, 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 balsa salvavidas del crucero de la General Belgrano, hundida el día 2 de mayo a 16 horas, 17 horas aproximadamente, a la deriva en el sur. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday.
He was eventually rescued along with the other 769 survivors. However, he says that terror accompanied him for many hours until he managed to feel safe again.
La sensación de estar a salvo fue cuando descendimos del Buchar en Ushuaia. Ese fue el preciso momento donde sentí que habíamos sobrevivido y que habíamos regresado a casa.
En estas horas comenzaron a llegar a Bahía Blanca tripulantes rescatados del crucero General Belgrano.
Se produce la llegada de un avión y transporta a parte de los tripulantes del crucero General Belgrano. El avión, precisamente, Islas Malvinas.
Another account that portrays the shocking stories of survivors is that of Warrant Officer Bernabe Nieva, who was surprised by the savage British attack while finishing his guard in the infirmary area of the ARA General Belgrano.
Se sintió una explosión seguida de otra explosión, casi simultánea. Bueno, el segundo torpedo impacta en la proa y le corta 15 metros aproximadamente de la proa. En ese momento que explota el torpedo, la onda expansiva me levanta a mí unos, no sé si 40, 50, 60 centímetros del piso, y en el aire me soltó con una fuerza feroz contra los mamparos.
Battered, he made his way to the ship's deck, and as he went, he assisted several of his comrades who were injured and in shock from the attack. He finally managed to reach the surface on the starboard side, the side of the ship that was elevated. Once there, he was faced with two options: jump into the icy water, or try to land on one of the small lifeboats floating meters below him.
Y bueno, y en el movimiento me encomendé a Dios y pegué un salto al medio de la balsa, porque se movía para acá, para allá. Y cuando el barco se estaba hundiendo, de algunas balsas se escuchó el "Viva la Patria, viva el Belgrano".
The last story that we can relive through the protagonists is that of the Avila brothers. The commander of the cruiser tells that they were two civilian crew members who were in charge of attending the canteen that operated on board. When the General Belgrano embarked to carry out duties during the Malvinas War, Hector Bonzo himself offered them to stay on land to avoid the dangers that a conflict of this magnitude represented. However, the Avilas did not hesitate to assure that they were also part of the ship's crew and would not leave. Thus, the time came when they had to face the same desperate situation as the rest of the sailors.
Cuando uno de los hermanos se dirige a la cubierta para ocupar el puesto de abandono, no ve entre la gente que está en la cubierta a su otro hermano. Entonces, llevado, impulsado por su amor de hermano, baja. Y hoy los dos hermanos Ávila son dos de los 323 héroes.
This episode is proof that the heroism on board the ARA General Belgrano reached each of its crew members, who were convinced of defending their country and their people until the last moment of their lives. Coming to the end of our video, we can affirm that the brutal attack by the British submarine will continue to be one of the most controversial events of this battle, also becoming a symbol of the high human cost of the Malvinas War and a reminder of the pain of the conflict. Now, after having learned about this incredible event through the protagonists themselves, it is time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for having joined us. We look forward to seeing you again in our next installment of Military History.